Hello everybody, welcome to this new video in which we're going to talk about language skills, the information about language skills that will be on the TKT CLIL test. And also, if you are a CLIL teacher, what in terms of language skills you need to know to be a successful teacher when teaching CLIL lessons. So let's move on, let's jump in right away. Basically, when students are learning different subjects, they need to express themselves in that subject. And sometimes expressing ourselves in math or in science can be a little different than expressing ourselves in history and in geography. Because for each one of the subjects, we need different language skills. Because the body of content from each one of the subjects is different, right? So each subject has its own communication demands. And they change based on the subject that we are studying. So CLIL focuses on communicative functions, which means the sub-skills or the skills, or some people will call them the features of discourse. For example, if you're having a discussion, you need to agree, you need to express an opinion. So you need to clarify a point. So agreeing, expressing an opinion, clarifying a point, or even disagreeing, those are language skills, or some people will call them sub-skills, if you consider speaking itself a skill. So let's move on and see this in more detail. So for example, as I've said before, giving opinions is a function, and so let's look at some discourse features of that. So what is some language that you can teach students and that students can use to express opinions? So I believe that, or in my opinion, right? So if they're discussing, for example, the best strategy for a scientific experiment, or the best way to solve a problem, so they can use those frames, these examples of discourse features to give their opinions. If they're agreeing or disagreeing, they can say, I agree, or I see your point when you say that, or I disagree, I see it differently. Again, in different discussions. And sometimes they also need to ask questions to clarify things that they do not understand. So asking questions is also a language skill. When do you pour the water? How come adding salt to the solution doesn't change anything, etc., etc. So these are just some examples. Illustrating. So for example, if I'm teaching history and I need and I'm learning about capitalism, for example. So I need to words such as capital or income, etc., and then I illustrate what they mean. I may need to sequence information, and this may be true in science again, or maybe in history when you are narrating an event that happened first, this happened, second, this happened, third, this happened, etc., etc. You may need to give definitions. A river is a body of water that, etc., etc. Or bodies of water such as rivers and lakes are important because, and etc., etc. Or you may need to express purpose, right? You need something to generate an effect, or in order to, or this is aimed at lowering the temperature of the solution, or of the room, or of the ice caps, etc. So these are just examples that we may use across subjects. Again, depending on the function, they may be more important, or it may be more important for one subject than for another, but they're all important in general. So what are some keys or strategies to developing language functions in the classroom? Well, first of all, it's important to increase student talking time. If we are trying to get students to develop language and we are talking more than our students, then we have a problem, right? So this is the first thing we need to do. We need to find out strategies to increase student talking time and decrease teacher talking time. Cooperation comes right along with it, right? When students cooperate, they communicate, they talk to each other. This is very important. When they're cooperating, they're sharing. Role plays are good, especially if you have hypothetical scenarios that you cannot really reproduce in the classroom. So role plays are great because they encourage communication, and students can't solve the problems that sometimes are involved in a scenario if they don't role play the solution. And create opportunities for using language meaningfully, not just copying words or memorizing words, but using in real context or in fabricated contexts that have a reason, that have a logic of their own, that the students see the purpose of. So that's very, very important, right? So those are some ways you can develop language functions. And some CLIL resources that you can use, and we've shared them before. Very key CLIL books. If you're interested in bilingual teaching in general, Essential Teacher Knowledge and CLIL Content and Language Integrated Learning. And the last one, Classroom Instruction That Works with English Language Learners, are very good books where you can learn a little bit more about language skills or language functions. And if you're interested particularly in the CLIL TKT or in the TKT CLIL test, I would highly recommend Kay Bentley's book, the TKT course CLIL module, and the Cambridge CLIL Handbook for Teachers, TKT CLIL Handbook for Teachers. So very useful resources, and I hope you have found this video useful, and I'll see you in the next one.